Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Giovanna Hernandez. I am 29 years old. I have 5 beautiful babies. I'm a stay-at-home mom and I am married. So where to begin? Oh my god, like this is my first YouTube video ever. Like I've never done a YouTube video before. Like I do a lot of stories on like my Instagram and they go from my Facebook, like they're all connected. Like I do a lot of TikToks and stuff like that, but I've never done sit down and like actually talk to anybody like this. So it's a little like weird, but you know. So as many of you know, on my Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, I've done videos about a surgery one of my babies had, my youngest baby actually. He is um a year and 3 months now. I wanted to talk about that because I did have a lot of people who had a lot of questions about it. So I am going to try to answer the questions the best way that I can. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a professional, I'm not a nurse, I'm not nothing like that from the medical field. So I am just going to tell you what I know, what I was told, what I experienced, everything like that. So yeah, so stay tuned and let's get it started. So let's go back to December of 2021 is when I found out that I was pregnant by him. My first trimester was beyond horrible. Like I had COVID, I had the flu, my iron was low. Like it was just a lot of health issues at once. By my second trimester, I was living it. Like I was glowing, like it was my best pregnancy. Like I stopped throwing up. Like I did have here and there nausea, but not like I did at the first. So when they did the glucose test, I felt it. I was so depressed for like 2 weeks because I was like, oh my God, like I cannot believe I felt it. Like I have diabetes. Like I cannot believe I did this to my son. Like why did I eat that cheeseburger? Why did I eat that chocolate? Like I was just very depressed because I blame myself a lot for it. And my doctor did talk to me a lot about it. He was like, don't blame yourself. This happens to a lot of pregnant women. Like you're not the only one. Um, especially I do come from a diabetic family. My mom has diabetes. My dad has diabetes. My grandma has diabetes. Basically, a lot of people in my family have diabetes. So it's something very common in my family. And obviously, we are at high risk for that. So he did tell me that I had to take care of myself a lot. I had to eat a lot more healthier. I had to watch what I was eating and how much I was eating and, things like that. So I was just on a very strict diet. I was never into like medication, insulin, pills, nothing like that. It was just a very high strict diet. And if I didn't do that diet, then I was going to be on medication. But I was like, nope, that's not going to happen. I am not going to have my baby go through that. So I took care of myself the best I could. So I want to say around 8 months, they did me an ultrasound, and the doctor told me that they saw extra liquid on one side of his head than the other side. And I was a little concerned. And I did tell the doctor, I was like, is that something normal? Um, like what does that mean? Like I was very confused. And they told me that it was something normal if a liquid wasn't going more than usual. It wasn't that high. It was like a little over the percentage that it was, but it says that some little boys tend to have a larger size head and they're like, but then they outgrow it. When they're born, they outgrow it. They're like, or sometimes babies, they will have to mold their head back with the little helmet. So I was like, oh, okay. But we didn't go like further into details just because after that, my following week, um, they did another ultrasound and they told me that the percentage of the liquid was exactly the same, that they didn't see anything concerning about it. I came out negative again for Down syndrome and all those tests that they do. I was like, okay, like I'm not going to worry about it. The doctor didn't worry about it, but they said that once the baby was born, then of course his PCP was going to be watching that he outgrows it. If not, they'll go from there. So it's like, okay. So birth came along, and the first thing my husband noticed, he was a C-section, by the way, was when he touched his head, he felt a lump on the right. It was the right, yeah, on the right side behind his ear. He felt like a little lump, and but it wasn't like super big or concerning. Like if you would touch it, it didn't hurt or nothing like that. But he did say, he was like, I feel like a little lump, and I was like, maybe a lot of kids are born a little lumpy, they'll outgrow it. But he was like, no, like I don't know, it's something weird. And I was like, I don't know. But in the meantime, like I was so focused on like, oh my God, I have my baby. Like I was living my best life with him. And it was like, I was just enjoying the moment. So by around 3 months, I started noticing that the little lump was growing. And I was like, I don't think this is normal. And, like I had that intuition, like something was not right. So for his 4th month checkup, I told his PCP and I told him, I was like, I feel like his head is on this side, on the right side. He has like a lump. And he checked them and everything. And he was like, He's like, he does. He was like, but I touch it, I press on it, and it doesn't hurt him. I was like, yeah, no, like it doesn't. So he said, okay, let's watch it for your next following appointment. And if you see anything more abnormal or it's growing, then please let me know. So the days pass, weeks, and I noticed that the side of his head on this side, every time I would shower him, like it was going sideways. And I was telling my husband, I was like, I see his head being crooked. And he's like, no, he's like, it's just your imagination. So one time he bathed them with me, and I told him, I was like, look at his head, only when his hair was wet, because he has like curly hair. And he looked and he was like, oh, his head is a little crooked. I'm like, yeah. And he touched the lump, and he was like, and have you noticed that the lump is actually growing? And I was like, yeah, that's what I noticed too. So he was like, okay, well, we gotta tell the doctor this time that he goes to his appointment. I was like, okay. The 6 month checkup came up, and I told the doctor, I was like, look, this is happening. Like, I see his head going sideways, the lump is growing. So he checked him again. He's like, yeah, you're right. So he was like, okay, I'm gonna send you to a specialist to get a helmet, to get shaped for a helmet, and then, shape his little head back. So 2 weeks from that appointment, they called us in, and I went to the appointment. It was in March. They put on like this white sock all over his head and like mold down his whole like little hair. And you could tell like the way his head was shaped and everything. And they scanned him and everything. Then the specialist came in with the nurse, and he told me, he was like, are you familiar with helmet treatment? And I looked at him, I was like, honestly, like I've never heard of this. Like this is my first time ever. Like I'm very like new to all of this. And he's like, I saw something abnormal on the back of his head, a double opinion from a specialist in Vanderbilt, just to make sure that a helmet is going to help measure his head. If not, they will go more further into details with you. And I was like, if the helmet is not the solution, I was like, then what is? He's like, have you ever heard of craniosynostosis? I was like, no, like to me that's a huge word. Like, no, I'm not familiar with that. He said craniosynostosis. He's like, it's like sutures that close before time. He's like, but usually the very common ones are the metopic. I think it's metopic, the unicorn one. He's like, those are the most common ones. His, I only see something abnormal on the very back of it, like in between his neck and like head right here. He's like, which I don't think it could be that. He's like, but let's get a double opinion with them before we order the helmet, because if for whatever reason he has something else, he's like, a helmet is not going to help. He actually made the appointment there with me and the doctor, and then they told me that I was going to get another call to set up the actual date that I will be able to go. So I was like, okay. So for the meantime, they already had like his insurance information, my phone number, how to get in contact, like all that stuff. I left I called my best friends and I started crying, and I told them, and one of my friends was like, don't look anything up crazy. She's like, still don't know if this is what in reality this is what he has. He's like, just wait till you get that appointment. And so I didn't tell my family in the meantime. I told them like days later, but I definitely didn't tell my mom because I didn't want to worry her yet. You know, as a mother, like, you know, something's wrong with your son. Like, I had that intuition that it was just something que no me dejaba en paz, that I knew something was wrong. I came home and I let my husband eat. Asked me, he's like, what did they tell you in the doctor? I was like, oh, eat first, you know, take a minute. He's like, okay. He ate, and then I told him, I was like, look, like, this and this is happening. This and this is what they think he has. They're like, well, they don't think he has it. They're like, but you know, they want a second opinion that he doesn't have it before we get a helmet. And he looked at me, and like, of course, you know, in the moment he cried because he was like, what? Like, something else is wrong with our son, you know, like, that's our son. So from there, I want to say like a week from that appointment, I got a call and to set up the date that we were gonna go in to see the specialist, and we got it in April. It was the longest a month of my life. I kept thinking about it. Don't Google anything. Google would just make you think other things that you're not supposed to. We waited for the appointment. We went to the appointment. Me and my husband went together. My mom babysit my other son, but my other kids were in school. We went, he got the scan and everything, his x-rays. And then from there, we went to the ninth floor on Vanderbilt Children's Hospital. Went to see the neurosurgeon. We waited, they passed us, and the doctor came in. He was like, hi, how are you? He's like, are you the parents of Massimo? And then we were like, yes. He's like, well, nice to meet you. One of the neurosurgeon doctors, he's like, what brings you in today? And I was like, well, we are here because we want to get a second opinion on our son's head. We want to make sure that a helmet is going to help and he doesn't have anything other than, you know, him just needing the helmet therapy. He's like, do you know what craniosynostosis is? We looked at him and were like, I mean, we know a little bit about it. I was like, but not exactly what a professional or a doctor would tell us. I looked at him and I was like, what does that mean? And then he was like, I am going to get the plastic surgeon. He's like, that way we can talk together. He came in with the plastic surgeon. He came in and he was like, hi, how are you? My name is Dr. Galinko. You were referred by Hanger's Clinic. And I was like, yes. And he was like, so we have some news. Oh my God, when he said that, like, my heart started racing even more. He pulled up the MRIs, x-ray on the computer. We want to let you know that unfortunately your son does have craniosynostosis lambodian. I think that's how you say it. Lamboded. I can't say it. One suture, and then these are more. So it's like these are connected like that. You know, like they're halfway connected. Like, it's just in the back of his head. He was like, but this is fixable, and we do have to fix this before he turns or is at the age of 1. The older they get, is like the more their head expands. He's like, and he does need room for his brain to develop the right way. The only way that we can fix it is by him having surgery. I reconstruct his skull. Oh my God, when he said that, like, my heart dropped. I was just in shock. It's very scary for somebody to tell you that they're just going to open your kid's head and reconstruct it. That's a major surgery. It was the worst news we could have gotten as parents. I did ask, why was this happening? How did this happen? Like, was it my fault? Was it something that I did? Like, I blame myself until this day when I see my son. Like, I blame myself so much for it. If I would have taken care of myself more, or if I would have done this, or maybe if I would have done this, what could I have done differently? Like, it's like I say, till this day, I blame myself a lot because it's like, and now that I went through the process, it's it's hard. It's hard. But he did tell me, he was like, you didn't do nothing wrong. This comes from the womb, from the placenta since they're inside of you. We don't know why kids are born like this. If we knew, we would tell you, or to try to invent it from other pregnant women. But we don't have the answer for you. And He was like, I do want to tell you that this procedure is successful, but the worst case scenario was like maybe a blood transfusion during the surgery, because a lot of kids, like having a blood transfusion can be very dangerous for a lot of kids because they like don't accept the blood, or him losing a lot of blood, like the high fevers, and we have to make sure like his blood type, that he doesn't have heart problems, that he doesn't have any other kind of issues, because we need to take the right precautions for everything. Baby M, he's very healthy. I felt the hope like in his words, but it was like la preocupación, the worriness in my heart was, it was there. So it was like very hard for me to take in. It was also very hard for my husband to take in. We got out of that clinic. Ever since then, everything changed. We both broke down crying, like super bad, like broke both of us. I was like, okay, it's time to tell our family. We need to have a plan for when he gets surgery. I told my family. My mom didn't take it really good. Everybody was like heartbroken because he was so little, like, es un bebé bien indefenso. For something like that to happen, it's like, it's scary. After that appointment, like a week or two later, they called me to set up the actual date for the procedure. My heart went down even more because they were like, yes, it's going to be on August the 22nd. Oh my God, like I cried so much because I was like, how is my baby going to be in his first year in the hospital? Like, just got a surgery done. Like, it was just a lot of things was going through my mind, a lot of things. And I did went into a very dark cloud. Very dark cloud. Like, I went into depression. I would cry over everything. I felt like so much stress, tension. I would not stop crying, and it was really hard for the both of us to settle this. We were both not mentally okay because I did not want to tell my kids. I felt like they wouldn't understand what I was telling them. I kept it off social media for a long time just because I didn't have answers. I didn't have patience. I just wanted to go through it with my family alone. So we threw him a big birthday. I always wanted something different. We're gonna do it Granja de Zenon because he loves that show. But my husband's not a big vaquero fan. So he's like, I don't want to dress vaquero and this and that. So we're like, okay, so let's do circus, something different, something alegre, something happy. So we wanted to do it very special. We did make it very memorable for him. On his birthday, which we celebrated on August the 12th, on his birthday party that week, we all got COVID. Like, everybody got COVID here, all my kids. But no, none of our guests got COVID, which is crazy. I was telling my husband, I felt like this was a sign from God that maybe he didn't need to have his surgery on his actual birthday. And they had to reschedule his appointment. And they gave it to us from October the 31st, or it was, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was before Christmas. Like, oh no, not around Christmas. Like, I don't want to be in Christmas in the hospital. Like, my babies, my kids, what if it snows? What if this gets longer? So I had no option but to do it. October 31st. September passed. My anxiety was like kicking in really bad in October. We got to the surgery date and we had to leave super, super early that day. We had to leave 4:30 because we had to be at the hospital by before 5:30 to get registered because his surgery was at 7 in the morning. We went and prepared him and everything. They took him. It was so sad because like his little face, he does like this little face when he cries, and just remembering it makes me want to cry, but I don't want to cry. I've been trying to do this video for the longest without crying because other videos I'm over there like crying and I look so ugly, and I was like, I don't want to cry. They told us it's going to be between 4 to 6 hours long, or it could be longer, it could take less. It just really depended how everything goes, like because if they get blood transfusions and things like that, like they had to see how he reacts to the blood transfusion, and if it does get complicated, and a lot of things can happen in a big major surgery. I put my son on God's hands. My family that knew, and my very closest friends that knew about it, they always prayed for him and everything. It was the longest, almost 5 hours of our life. Like, honestly, the first 2 nights were very hard. They were the hardest nights because he had to get a blood transfusion after the surgery, not during. They were just making sure that he didn't get high fevers or rashes or reacted to the blood. Thankfully, he did not. But it was still the hardest hours because nurses came in like every hour, every 2 hours. We were in the ICU, and it was just like it was very hectic. The first 2 days were absolutely the hardest. And then from there, like it started getting a little better. But by the second day, like he started swelling up. Like this side of his face was like super, super swollen. It looked really bad. If in pictures it looks bad, in person it was bad. I was like, oh my God, like he looked like he got beat up. But now he is great. Baby boy is doing so much better. I am just very thankful that everything came out good, that we are on the other side, because honestly, this was beyond the scariest thing that me as a mother and him as a father went through. No se lo deseo a nadie que sus hijos estén pasando por algo así. Like it doesn't matter if it's the heart, the head, whatever it is. Like my heart goes out to all those moms with Down syndrome, autism, any kind of health problem your son goes to, because this is beyond the hardest thing we have to go through. So one of the main questions that we had was this genetic? Like this was not genetic from our side. It can be genetic if you have different cases from your family members with this same issue. Where does it come from? We have no idea. Not even the doctor has an idea. They've been studying this for years. They're not sure, 100% sure, why it happens to the kids that are not genetic. The main question I got was, what is craniosynostosis? Craniosynostosis is when we have different part of sutures in our head. The kids' suture, well, the baby sutures are not supposed to close till about 2 to 3 years. There's babies that inside their womb are already like that. For example, baby M was already like that from the womb, which is the reason that he had extra liquid on one side of his head. Why? We don't know. But he had already one of the sutures in the back closed before time while he was born or while he was developing. The other question was, will he have any kind of delays, or how does this affect him in his future? They say that a lot of kids grow to have a normal future, like they can still play sports and everything like that. It depends on the child. But the biggest thing that they do see is delays on speech. Here they're learning, but it's most likely on speech. And for some of you that don't know, baby M still does not say anything. Like he is already referred to a speech therapy, because he does not say mama, papa, like nothing. He don't say anything. He'll just point at you. Like I have him watch Miss Rachel a lot, and all he would do is like the signs. Like when he wants milk, he'll do this or things like that, but he will not talk to us, or he will not say any kind of word to us, which is why now he will be seeing a speech therapy, and they will evaluate him to see on what level he is and what they need to work on with him. Another question that I got, what was it that we took the hardest? Honestly, I thought accepting it and waiting in the waiting room was the hardest. But honestly, the hardest tip for me was the after, like him seeing laying down in that bed, in pain, and like I couldn't do anything to help him. That was to me the hardest. The way I saw him, like he got super, super swollen. That to me also, it was really hard to see that. I think my husband, it was a little bit of everything. Another question that I got was, will this be the only surgery? The doctor said that sometimes there's other kids that do need more surgeries, but there's kids that don't, that just with one surgery it will fix the problem. But hopefully, and I pray to God that we only have to go through this once, because it is beyond very hard mentally, physically. But a message to all the moms: when you feel an intuition, talk to your doctor. If you have any concerns about your son's head, arm, leg, heart, speaking, talking, whatever it is, always, always, always follow your intuition, because A mother's intuition is never wrong. Some people might think being a mom is easy. It's not. Motherhood is not what it seems. A lot of people make it seem like it's the easiest thing in the world. It is not, especially when you have more than one child. Also, like, don't ever feel like you're alone. If you ever need to talk to anybody, make sure you do. And sometimes talking to another mom helps a lot. I know there's a lot of groups out there. I was in a group where it was only dedicated to kids with craniosynostosis. It was on Facebook. It really helped me a lot to understand a lot of things. People on there would pray for you. Like, they would tell you their stories, what they did, what they didn't do, what they took to the hospital, what they didn't take to the hospital. Like, that group also had a like little supportive thing where it was called Cranial Care Bear, where they send you everything, like a little packet of things that, they helped out to take the basic stuff to the hospital, like shampoo, conditioner, all that you needed for the stays at the hospital, coffee, like they would give you teas, Tylenol. It was really cute. Like, I thought it was the cutest packet. But yeah, I hope I answered all your questions that a lot of you had, which it was the most answered questions, because I think most of the questions I answered them on while I was talking, like how I knew and all of that. But yeah, everybody, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. Make sure you like, subscribe, so you can get notified every time I upload a new video. I will be posting once or twice a week. Is actually this next video. Will probably be uploading it in 2 weeks. So I will be telling you something that we've also been working in since August. Can't wait to reveal it to you guys. I'm excited myself. I'm excited for my kid. Also, I am going to add clips on here from his pictures and stuff of, his surgery and all of that. So, yeah. So thank you for watching and see you on the next one. Bye.